doing. He's getting foreigners up here, got them to reflect a little bit. Paul asked me to talk a little bit about U.S. culture, which I think is a ridiculous proposition. U.S. culture is everything and anything, but what I can talk about a little bit is my sense of culture, which is definitely, as Tim said, arts and other manifestations, and just tell a little bit of a story. In thinking about this, it's the first time since I've moved here in 6 years that I actually felt a little bit nostalgic, so bear with me. As a teenager and aspiring musician, I became an adjunct to the household in Washington, D.C. that hosted all the artists who came to perform in the White House and in the city. My teacher, a concert pianist, and her husband, Patrick Hayes, ran the only concert bureau in town. There only was one. And as a couple, they were legendary for the hospitality they extended to their artists, offering them a home away from home. A few lucky students were given access to the world's greatest artists, both on and off the stage, in exchange for being a gopher, chauffeur, page turner, and the like. Patrick Hayes was one of the handful of legendary impresarios in the U.S. I didn't know this at the time. It's kind of interesting to reflect back on what we were in the middle of. He was part of a group of Goliaths that included Saul Girac, Harold Leventhal, Herbert Barrett, and others in New York, and who adapted a European model of presenting the performing arts to create something that was completely in tune with American culture. They constantly pushed the boundaries of what people thought should and could happen on stage by presenting black artists when many halls were still segregated, by bringing the Bolshoi and Kirov to the U.S., and the Moscow Circus during the Cold War, and so on. They were, of course, also very good businessmen. They listened to their artists, they engaged with them as partners and civic leaders. Let me repeat that, as partners and civic leaders to drive change in the country. They created platforms for that leadership through their work to organize and professionalize the field through networks, associations, and powerful lobbies. They were front and center in the drives to build Lincoln Center, the Kennedy Center, and so on. Patrick Hayes' favorite saying was, "Everybody in. The arts is for everybody." He came from a vaudeville family and believed that the transformative power of the arts came from the interaction between artists and the audience. Those moments when the performer disappears as an individual and channels the art directly to the audience. And that this can happen anywhere, high art, low art, and everywhere in between, and that nobody, particularly not politicians or architects, could say when and where that might happen. I could never bear to leave that, having once been in the middle of it, and found ways to be useful professionally and stuck with it personally. But fast forward to Northern Ireland. Moving here has been a great adventure. My husband and I immediately went out to explore the arts world and found right away that the audience, which audience we belonged in, was as complicated as what your mother's maiden name was, and so on. That some of the art that we, the classical music in particular, but I won't go too far down that route, that we were particularly drawn to were the audiences where we felt the most uncomfortable, which was quite interesting. But the place where I completely recognize what's going on is right here in the Cathedral Quarter, and right here tonight in Culture Night. This is where I have found the interaction between the artists and the audiences, where you have that access to the artists on and off the stage, where you can come in direct contact with that transformative spark. Everybody's in. The audiences are as diverse as the population. Boundaries are constantly being challenged. So if you're looking for a way out of this cultural conundrum, the general cultural conundrum, follow your artists. Listen to them. Pay attention. Take them as your leaders.